All right, we're back. Session 2, Fantasy Pro Insiders. We've got Al, we've got the Guru. I'm the Warden. We're gonna kick this thing off here. We've got tight ends, we've got kickers, and then we're gonna get to the meat of everything. That's gonna be your running backs, which you guys are waiting for. So we're gonna kick this thing off with tight ends first. I'll get right into it here. Coming in at number 1, of course, week in, week out, and that's Travis Kelce out of Kansas City.
Reclaimed his
Number
spot at
2,
the top.
what's that?
He reclaimed his spot at the top in a hurry.
Oh
He
yeah,
didn't like
oh yeah.
being second best. Oh, he didn't
Hey,
care for that at all.
he's
He's
not
the
playing no
beast.
games, man. He's not playing no games, man. Number 2, Mark Andrews out of Baltimore. 3, Zach Ertz. I've got him in my lineup. Actually, he's coming out of Arizona. Number 4, Darren Waller out of Las Vegas. Hope we'll see some good numbers from him this week. Excuse me. Number 5, coming out of Atlanta, Kyle Pitts. 6, Tyler Higbee out of Los Angeles Chargers. Dallas Goedert coming in at number 7. Actually, I have him. I had dropped Ertz. Actually, I've got Dallas. That's my mistake. But he'll have a good week, though. I know he will with Jalen Hurts. He had a good week last week. Coming in at number 8, and that is that's out of Pittsburgh, Pat Freiermuth. Out of Pittsburgh, Freiermuth. I would pronounce that last name of his. But let's see if Mitch Trubisky, one of Dave's guys, can get him the get him the ball this week. So we've got number 9, Gerald Everett out of the Chargers. Number 10, T.J. Hockenson out of Detroit with Jared Goff out there. Number 11, Dawson Knox out of Buffalo. And then I'm going to end it here with my top 12. That's Logan Thomas out of Washington Commanders. So, Al, I'll let you go ahead and get into the next 12.
All right. Number 12 is Logan Thomas, Washington. Number 13, Evan Ingram in Jacksonville. Number 14, Irv Smith looks to be involved in Minnesota. Number 15, Hayden Hurst in Cincinnati. Number 16, Juwan Johnson in New Orleans. Number 17, Tyler Conklin for the Jets. Albert O in Denver. Number 18. Number 19, Cameron Brate, Tampa Bay. Number 20, Isaiah Likely in Baltimore. Number 21, Eric Saubert. Is that in Denver also? Number 22, David Njoku, Cleveland. Number 23, we keep waiting for the week, Cole Kmet for the Bears. And number 24, Robert Tonyan in Green Bay. I don't look for Tonyan to be much of a yardage guy, but he's going to have some touchdowns this week because that's going to probably be your red zone guy if they ever get away from that running game.
Yeah, I would be surprised to see him get in the end zone. It would be real nice to see the Bears tight end there get it a little bit also. I know last week the entire offense struggled big time.
Yeah.
So hopefully that ship rights itself. And I mean, he's never going to be a top 5 tight end. He may once or twice get lucky and put up top 5 numbers, but he could be a top 15 guy every week if things go right for him. And that's all you can hope for, few top 10s, but not the way they're getting him the ball. It's just not going to happen. They got to find ways to keep the quarterback on his feet. That might help too.
Yeah, exactly, man. A little surprised, man, that they're not just chucking it down and not chucking it down, just dumping it down to Cole out there a little more often. But man, it's Chicago for you. All righty, we'll get right into the kickers, Guru. We'll go number 1 out of Las Vegas, Daniel Carlson. Young Ho Koo out of Atlanta coming in at number 2. Number 3 out of Baltimore, Justin Tucker. Ryan Suckup coming in at number 4 out of Tampa Bay. Number 5, Evan McPherson out of Cincinnati. He was a little off last week. Was that last week he was a little bit off? Was that week 1? Whatever week it was, he was a little off there. But young guy, he'll bounce back though. 9, Graham Gano out of New York Giants. Number 7, Matt Gay out of the Los Angeles Rams. Um, Number 9, I love this guy actually, man. He's good. I'm glad to see this guy back. Will Lutz out of New Orleans. Good to see him back kicking again. Number 9, Tyler Bass out of Buffalo. Number 10, Brett Mayer out of Dallas. 11, Chris Boswell out of Pittsburgh. And number 12, coming out of Carolina, that is Zane Gonzalez.
All right. Number 13, Jake Elliott in Philly. Number 14, Robbie Gould, San Francisco. Number 15, looks like they may have found a kicker in Cleveland. This kid's got a big leg. Cade York out of Cleveland. Number 16, Brandon McManus, Denver. Number 17, Matt Prater in Arizona. Number 18, Riley Patterson in Jacksonville. Number 19, Nick Folk in New England. Number 20, Dustin Hopkins for the Chargers. Number 21, Mason Crosby in Green Bay. Number 22, Randy Bullock in Tennessee. Number 23, Jason Sanders in Miami. Number 24, Greg Joseph in Minnesota.
All right. Well, I don't think we really need to discuss kickers too much.
Nothing to discuss. Nothing to discuss there. So
Kickers is if your team is depending on it depending on a kicker, you ain't got a team.
you're in trouble. You're in
If
trouble.
that's gonna be your meat and potatoes, you ain't got nothing for dinner, man.
You're in trouble, man. You are in trouble. So, hey, let's get to the nitty gritty, the meat of everything. Al, I'm gonna go ahead and let you kick this off here with the running backs, man.
Okay. Been a strange year for running backs in fantasy and the NFL, actually. But this is probably going to be the bounce back week for number 1, Jonathan Taylor. Big yardage week 1. He's just that team has not looked good. Matt Ryan's looked pretty washed, but Jonathan Taylor is a special speedy back, and there's a reason why he was a consensus. I think mostly consensus number 1 coming into this year. Number 2 is Christian McCaffrey. If Taylor wasn't the consensus, the only reason he wasn't was because of McCaffrey, particularly in PPR leagues or half PPR. Number 3, Austin Eckler for the Chargers. We're still kind of waiting for him to do his thing. Austin Eckler, if I'm honest, really has looked very much like Austin Eckler of 2020 rather than Austin Eckler of 2021. Number 4, Dalvin Cook, who just laid an absolute egg on Monday night. Number 5, Nick Chubb, just one of the absolute biggest talents at the position, just finds himself in a really unique position. Nick Chubb, 20 years ago is easily a top 3 back every week, just based on talent alone. But he's just in a really unique position where it seems like they're trying to keep 2 backs healthy for the entire season. Number 6, Saquon Barkley for the Giants. Didn't look as sharp in week 2 as he did in week 1, but week 1 was a monster week. So we'll know a little more about Saquon as the weeks go on here, but he sure did look good in week 1. Number 7, Najee Harris, Pittsburgh. Number 8, Joe Mixon in Cincinnati. That every skill position in Cincinnati really needs for that offensive line to do better. I mean, they're just so bad right now that it's actually affecting Jamar Chase. It's affecting T. Higgins. It's affecting quarterback play, running back play. I mean, every skill position is really taking a hit just based on how bad the offensive line has been. Number 9, I'm going to tell you, Derrick Henry. I'm hearing a lot of people say, he's just, trade for him. I've been playing fantasy long enough that I watched Eddie George for the same team fall away. And I'm hoping that's not what's happening with Derrick Henry. It may be possible with AJ Brown gone that it affects that team a lot more than I expected it to. And if that's the case, that's going to affect that whole offense. And if you get to Derrick Henry in the backfield, he can be stopped. If you don't get to him in the backfield, he can't be stopped. It's really that simple. Number 10, coming off a really big week, is Aaron Jones in Green Bay. Number 11 is DeAndre Swift in Detroit. And I have to say, if we were redrafting today, DeAndre Swift would be going in a much different place than where he was drafted on draft day. He would be going in that top handful of backs for sure. Number 12, Chubby Lenny, Leonard Fournette down in Tampa. Number 13, Javonte Williams in Denver. Number 14, again, make sure he's healthy, Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. Number 15, again, make sure he's healthy, James Conner in Arizona. Number 16, David Montgomery in Chicago. And I think I went one over there. I apologize for that. I did that with the receivers earlier too.
That's okay, man. That's okay. You're on the roll. You're on the roll.
It's feeling it.
Yeah, I was there. I was on the roll, man. So I was going to keep it, let it keep going, man. So, okay. What did we leave? We got 16 David Montgomery out there in Chicago, as I had mentioned. 17 James Robinson out of Jacksonville. It's early. I know him and Travis are going to continue to share that, but like James may have a little edge right now, but it's early. 18 Clyde Edwards, Hilaire out of Kansas City. 19 A.J. Dillon out of Green Bay. 20 Antonio Gibson out of Washington. 21. Here's one. This is an interesting one. Ezekiel Elliott. He'll still get some carries. So he split out there with Pollard. No Dak Prescott. So not how often they're gonna throw that ball. But Rush didn't look too bad. You know what I mean? Last week. So we'll see what's going on out there in Dallas. But Ezekiel's gonna come in at 21. 22 Jeff Wilson with the injury from Mitchell. Jeff Wilson slides into that 22 spot for the rankings this week out there in San Fran. As I mentioned, Tony Pollard, he's coming in at number 23. 24, Damian Harris out of New England. And then 25, Travis Etienne out of Jacksonville. 26, this was my guy last year. Man, Guru, was this my guy last year? Cordell Patterson. Woo. That was my guy, man. He's coming in at 26. We'll see what's going on out there in Atlanta.
It's so hard to turn your back on the stuff that he can do.
Exactly.
You don't want to rank him
up there.
But if you don't, that's when it's going to bite you because he is that explosive, man. He does a ton with few carries,
Yeah. And here's a guy I'm looking to. I would hope that this guy will climb up to that top 15 rankings every week, and that's Josh Jacobs out in Vegas. Not sure what's going on. I know it's only 2 games so far, but I was expecting a little different, some different results from Josh Jacobs and the Las Vegas Raiders. He's coming in at 27, though. 28, Michael Carter out of the Jets. 29, Rashad Penny out of Seattle. Hoping he can climb up a few more notches this week. And then rounding out the top 30 of running backs for week 3, that's Breece Hall out of New York Jets. So that's it for the running backs. Guru, you got anything you want to leave them with?
The kid from Seattle, Rashad Penny, finished the season off last year like he was going to set the league on fire. And then everything changed, obviously, when they traded their stud quarterback and receivers. But he's still there. And, I was hoping that they would build their offense on him. Unfortunately, he only got 15 yards last week on 6 carries for the game. Nobody's going to do anything.
He's got to watch for Kenneth Walker now.
When you're that
Kenneth Walker's ablaze.
Yes, because all it takes when you're off to a slow start is for one of them rookies to come up and bang, one explosive play, and next thing you know, they're getting the bulk of the carries because they're showing what they can do. And he's shown in the past that both Penny has that he can be a very good back, and he's also proven that he can be very bad. So they're done messing around with him, I think. And if he doesn't right that ship, look for that uh, rookie to take over sooner rather than later. I would assume they're going to be done with him after this week. If he doesn't have, we're not done with him, but they're going to put that rookie in the starting lineup and give him probably 70% of the carries if he doesn't show what he showed last year at the end of the season, because he was the number one back for the last 7 weeks of the year. He had almost 700 yards, or no, over 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks. So he was the number one running back at the end of the season, and they had high hopes for him. But then you trade half the team away, and it changes everything. So hopefully it changes for him, and he rights the ship this week. And has anybody? I haven't heard anything on Ezekiel Elliott. Is he going to play this week? Is he?
As far as I know,
I haven't heard anything. Yeah.
I didn't know if he was nicked
up
or what.
I don't think he's out. I want to touch on those Seattle backs real quick. It's coincidental that it's the same team. But back after I'd been playing fantasy for a few years, I drafted a receiving back in Seattle named Ricky Waters. And I had Ricky Waters, and he went down to an injury about week 3. And I didn't realize it because we didn't have all the information we have now. But they had drafted some kid out of Alabama named Sean Alexander. And he came into the game late in the second quarter, and by halftime, he had already scored 2 touchdowns. So I immediately got him off the waiver wire because I had Ricky Waters, and I'm like, I didn't watch college football. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. And the rest is kind of history. So it's not anymore. It's not just injury that gets these veterans out of the lineup. It's talented rookies, and you have ETN. But I'm telling you, everybody sleeps on James Robinson every year. Anyway,
Yeah.
but you have Travis Etienne. They did it again this. I mean, he's coming off a bad injury, and he already looks good. So, but Etienne not only catches the ball, you kind of have to look at him as a rookie. But you have Pierce starting in Houston, and you have a couple other of these backs sprinkled in. One I'll mention though is the number 30 on our list was Breece Hall, with number 28 being Michael Carter in that Jets backfield. Breece Hall showed a lot of explosiveness this last week and got his first touchdown. Where he was drafted, because running backs aren't drafted the way they used to be in the NFL. I'm not talking about fantasy, but running backs used to go, it was commonplace to have several go in the first round, several went in the second round. Now it's not uncommon to have no running backs in the first round. And so everybody thinks, well, second and third round running back. No. These are now the cream of the crop. Breece Hall is an explosive, fast back. Kenneth Walker is an explosive, fast running back. There's Algier in Atlanta is a good back. Dameon Pierce is a good back. There's a lot of good backs that came into the league. Keep your eye on these guys. And Breece Hall in particular is quite possibly the most talented of all of them. But right now he's stuck behind Michael Carter. But if those Jets keep, sniffing and staying close in games, maybe win a couple games, you're going to start seeing. I don't think it'll be a thing where they say now he's a starter, but all of a sudden the carries go from 70% to Michael Carter and 30% to Breece Hall to 40, 60, 50, 50, and the next thing you know, you give these kids enough of a chance and they will absolutely take over a backfield. That could happen in Seattle. That could happen with the Jets. So, if you don't have those guys before they go off, if you have one that you've been looking at, a rookie back, I would trade for him now. Now's same thing with the receivers. Now's the time before they blow up big.
Jay, let me ask you about 2 running backs here. uh, Javante Williams
Hmm.
from Denver,
Hmm.
and um, Najee Harris from
Out of Pittsburgh. It's
Pittsburgh.
not. Yeah, is he still? I'm not sure if he's banged up still. He was a little banged up last week, wasn't he?
He
A
looked good.
little. They said he
Yeah.
could have played if they
Yeah.
were in a different situation. He would have played, but um, they both struggled
Right.
this season to start with. Harris especially so.
Yeah.
He's been really awful for the first 2 weeks.
Right.
But I think people definitely expected more out of both of those backs. The word from
Well, I
um,
mean, Najee, he wasn't bad last week, as Al said. He's got a this should be a good one tomorrow night. Rivalry hit them and the Browns, man. So I think they're gonna get a nice heavy dose of Najee. I think I can see him getting at least 15 to 18 carries that game. But with that Cleveland D line, I believe what's the name may be out this week. Clowney, I believe he's going to be out from what I'm hearing. But that's still you still got, of
Yeah.
course, on the other side, Garrett. But I think Harris, anytime Cleveland and Pittsburgh play the game, it's going to be ground and pound, man. Mitch is not going to win them ball games through the air. Claypool should be back. Well, he should be playing this week, I think, but that'll help. But I think Harris is going to get a good 15 to 18 carries a game, though, for tomorrow night. Who was the other guy you said?
Javante Williams. He was everybody's kind of he was kind of a sleeper. Everybody thought he was going to explode this year.
Out of Denver. Yeah,
But
yeah,
he's still in a two back setup. It's extremely
yeah.
hard for one guy to explode.
Exactly, man.
But he has
Exactly.
all the talent. Do you think they're going to finally break down and
I
give
don't
him the
know.
talent, the carries that he needs?
I don't think so, man. Not yet. Not yet. Because I've got Melvin Gordon still with me. And, just looking at last week, um, let's see here. So Melvin, he had about 10 carries last week. Week before that, he had 12 carries. So it's going to be about it for a while, man. Unless, I think it's going to come down to Russell. He's going to open up some things, but they got a tough San Francisco defense this week, too. They're at home, but San Fran plays tough defense, man. So I think they're gonna continue to split those carries, man. You know what I mean? It's gonna come down to Russell. It won't come down to that backfield out there to me, but I think either way you go with either guy, Melvin or Javante. I've got Melvin. I haven't inserted him in my lineup. I've got other guys out there, but if I had some guys that was injured, of course I had to put them in there though. But I think it's gonna be like that for a while, man.
Al, do you want to take a minute and comment on those two backs?
Well, for me, I'm just looking here. Najee is, he's pretty far down. I mean, he's not, as of right now, he's barely sniffing, running back two territory. And Javante, on the other hand, is ahead of, Antonio Gibson, who's really been fine so far. I mean, people aren't necessarily wild about him, but he's been okay. He's ahead of A.J. Dillon. He's ahead of Brees Hall, Dave Montgomery, Austin Eckler, Leonard Fournette. He's ahead of, and he's ahead of Najee Harris. So really, in PPR leagues, Javante's been okay. I wouldn't go so far as to say, he's been excellent to start the season, but he's been okay. So we'll have to see, I guess, from here, where does Javante go? And I know Najee was probably ranked a little higher coming in. Some of that was based on how many passes he caught last year, because Big Ben's weenie arm was not throwing it any more usually than 10 or 15 yards. So Najee was catching a ton of Big Ben dump-off passes.
Yeah,
And Mitch
it's true.
Trubisky, I think Mitch Trubisky might be the only person that doesn't realize he's not very good. So he does try to push the ball downfield more than he probably should. And if he would take what's underneath a little bit more and have a Najee there, I think it would increase Najee's value, particularly again in PPR. But they both have looked pretty okay. I mean, Javante's been fine. He's probably been about where you drafted him, but I think he's got some bigger days ahead. That's the reality of the NFL now. That Javante Melvin Gordon backfield is the reality of the NFL. I mean, there are very few bell cow backs anymore. Even Jonathan Taylor has Naeem Hines. You look at the Green Bay backs this week, and you think, oh well, I mean that he just ran all over the Bears. Well, guess what? Dillon is still in that backfield, and he's still going to get a big chunk of that. Look what happens in Cleveland. I mean, you've had two very usable fantasy backs in Cleveland. I mean, Kareem Hunt has been a fine flex so far this year, if used in both weeks. And Nick Chubb is the number one back in fantasy football, and he's in a split backfield. So that's kind of the reality of the NFL now. And if you get one of those backfields in a good offense, it could work out pretty well for you. I mean, the Rams have kind of a split backfield, but you never know what they're going to do because it looked like all Henderson in week 1, and then it was all Cam Akers in week 2. And then Miami has this explosive offense with great receivers, and everybody's darling, sleeper pick was their running back, and now people want more of Mostert than they've kind of moved off of Edmonds. I mean, so split backfields kind of seem to be a thing now. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a bell cow back. He can catch, he can block, he can run. But outside of that, you have your first 3 down back with Derrick Henry. He's got your first 3 downs covered. They're going to bring a passing guy in if it's 3rd and long, but otherwise he's generally on the field. Outside of that, I mean, almost even San Francisco before the injury, was going to be a split backfield with Wilson. Buffalo has driven. I mean, they have a great offense. They've driven people mad and not put out a good. Everybody wants a piece of that offense. They don't have a good backfield. Nobody, there's nobody there you can hang your hat on. New England, it's a moving target to pick the back there that's going to get the work. So split backfields seem to be the way fantasy is run now. So Najee, at least in that offense in Pittsburgh, he's the guy. So that's why I like him. Javante I like on talent alone in Denver because he's just so good. Even with Melvin Gordon there, he should be fine. And Najee I like just because your head coach there likes having a single back, which is a real rarity now, and he's going to give Najee the ball. So you can count on Najee getting the work.
Okay, real quick, let me ask you, Jay, about the Dallas backfield situation.
Yeah, I was going to come. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me that for at least 2 seasons now, and so far this year, that Tony Pollard appears to be the better back, but yet they're still running
Zeke
Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott
like
a maniac. They're still just throwing him out there and giving him starters carries. And I don't think he's still a decent back, but I don't think that he's the best back on that team. And it's been 2 seasons now that it's kind of been obvious. Maybe not to everybody. And, and maybe he hasn't had the greatest games ever, but I think he deserves to be a starter somewhere. And I think he should be there. He should be getting 30 carries a game.
I was going to say the same thing. As we were talking about those tandems, and Dallas is another one. They're another tandem where with Zeke and Pollard, where it's hard to insert one of those guys into the lineup. Just going off by name and by what they've done in the past. Of course, you want to put Ezekiel, but Pollard seems like he's getting right there and keeping those numbers. The same as Ezekiel, he's going to be getting a lot of those third downs. And now with Cooper Rush out there, who knows, man? Who knows what's going to happen with that offense now? Dallas have to figure out what they're going to do. Jerry Jones, of course, not going to give up. They're going to try to make the playoffs. So who knows what they're going to do out there in Dallas, man? I don't trust Ezekiel. I don't trust Pollard. I don't trust any of those two right now. They're inserted in my lineups until we can kind of see who's going to be the ones that's going to be taking.
Let me ask you, if you had to trust one, say in your flex position, so you had both on your team, both were on your lineup, who would you trust more?
Pollard.
That's what I say, Al. What do you think on that? Do you think Elliott
on
Scott?
pure talent, if are the GM or the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, unless Jerry Jones is telling them, hey, Zeke is our guy, keep giving him the ball. I mean, you're going to listen to the boss, or he's going to run you out of town. But as far as being a fantasy manager goes, I think if I had them both, I would make myself a note to try to do a better job drafting next year, first of all. Secondly, I would say I would probably reach out to two people in my league and try to trade them both away before I would try to start either one of them. But if you're really gonna put my feet to the fire, I would probably start Zeke with a preference. If I was gonna have a flex, I would start Zeke in my flex over Pollard right now, just based on opportunity. But if I had to have one back on my roster, I'd prefer to have Pollard, if that makes any sense at all. But for this week, because of the work he gets, I would prefer to go ahead and have Zeke. But yeah, we all see everybody sees the eyeball test on Pollard is when he hits the field, he's better. I think they can't overwork him. I think he's more of a 15 to 20 carry back, or maybe a 25 touch a game guy. I don't think you can really work him that hard, or you're going to lose him to injury. He's not really built for that. But Zeke is not the back he used to be. But yeah, for this week and maybe for the next couple weeks, I would probably continue to start Elliott. But I would be trying hella hard to make a trade, man.
That's all I got, gents. You got anything else? Anybody?
I'm good, man.
Good.
I'm all good, man.
Well, if you want to walk us off, I guess we can call it a night.
All right. Well, Guru, I think that wraps it about up, man, for week 3. As we went through them all, we went through the quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, kickers, and defense. I think we gave them some nice content to look their teams over, see who they wanted to insert in those lineups, see if anyone's out there in a waiver wire that they may be able to get.